Start now? Okay, go ahead.
Watch out! Everybody makes you feel with y'all, the rock master. Even who preach like a bastard, forever than the altar. I am prepared for the need to compare, one compare, up here. When I am in here, I'm in the atmosphere. And everybody makes you feel with y'all, the rock master. Even who preach like a bastard, forever than the altar. Let me the way I live, the easy way I use it, my fear, the even fear, so I feel my blood, the way I use it. Hey, don't get that song, don't get that, hey, don't get that song, don't get that, hey.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are live with Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Don't forget, folks, we are 100% listener supported. So don't forget, we don't have all those banners and stuff anymore. No advertising. You won't hear commercials here. It's 100% content and 100% listener supported. So we appreciate it when you click on that donate button. All right, we're going to get started here. This is Pilot Show, Urban Revolution with One Iam. Be running till 10 p.m. or whenever he gets sick of us. How you doing, One?
I'm doing well.
Doing well. All right. Well, I'm going to let you get started, and we'll hold the phone lines for about 10 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and crack them open, and you can get going.
Okay.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Greetings, everyone. You're listening to Urban Revolution on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. I'm your host, One Iam. Revolution Radio is entirely listener-supported radio. We're not sponsored by Viacom, so there are no subjects that we have to stay away from. We're not sponsored by Monsanto, so we're not going to be pitching you styrofoam corn for dollars. In fact, we can tell you all the reasons why you shouldn't eat styrofoam corn. On Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we give our listeners the 411. That's the information that they need to make informed decisions, and our listeners show their support and appreciation by hitting the donate button to ensure that we're here doing what we do. Give a lot or give a little. Just do what you can to keep independent radio advising you, free of the influence of Big Brother and Uncle Sam. Hit the donate button on the World Wide Web and let the spider know that the insects have taken over the web. Okay. Tonight, we're going to be talking about urban education and, you know, how it relates to rural areas as well. You know, I mean, the cities and et cetera are not just an island, you know, islands in the nation that are surrounded by the suburban waters, so to speak. You know, we all kind of tied together. So tonight's topic is urban revolution is urban education and what we can do to improve it, and by doing so, strengthen our nation as a whole. Here in my study with me to discuss the issue is Debbie, my significant other, to put a female viewpoint on urban education. We're both products of Detroit Public Education, where we presently have a 75% dropout rate in Detroit here. That pretty much means that if you get 10 children in the 9th grade, only 3 of them are going to graduate out of the 12th grade. The other ones are going to fall by the wayside, you know, and be out on the streets pretty much with their pants down, halfway around their buttocks, and smoking, doping, and doing whatever else, you know, and trying to hit a lick in the street in order to make it. Okay. We'll also be taking your calls on the subject of urban education at 347-688-5828. 2902. You can also make a free call by way of Skype if you add Freedom Screen to your Skype contacts and hit the button after you've been added, I believe. Also, I've seen that there are some new international numbers that are rolling at the top of Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. If you're an international caller, do use the appropriate number to call in. We love to have your input here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Debbie, say hello to our beautiful worldwide audience and tell them a little about your public education here in Detroit, if you don't mind.
Hi, this is Debbie. How's everybody today? I'm doing good. Funny you should mention that. I was riding my bike today. I was out speaking to some of our neighbors because we do live in a diverse community. And me and this gentleman, Leonard, were discussing how and where would the white people who live in our area send their kids to school since Detroit public schools are so bad. And he was like, well, there's really no place to go. So I'm wondering right now, my son is 3. When my son actually gets 5, where am I going to really send him to school? And I'm like, that's a good question. So when you moved back up in the city of Detroit, did you contemplate where you would actually send your child to school? Even though, don't get me wrong, there are schools that are up and coming that are good, but you're talking about in another 3-year span, your child has to go to school. So we were trying to take that apart to see where he would actually send his child since, 1, they're closing a lot of schools. 2, unfortunately, the education system here is very poor. And 3, what could we do in the next 3 years to expand and enlarge our kids' learning curve?
Yeah, okay. I understand his dilemma because, like you said, his son, Andrew, is 3 years old now?
Yes.
3?
Yeah, he's actually 2 right now, so he has 3 more years before he has to decide where he's going to go to school. But then I was speaking to another family here, and their daughter goes to Renaissance High, and that's a college prep school here, not too far from where we live here. And she is, his 2 girls are older. They're in high school, and they go to Renaissance High, and they're one of 3 minorities at that school.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, they moved back up into the city, so that's part of the game.
Well, yeah, but they like it. They said they really like it. They said they have not, experienced any harsh treatment, any differential treatment from the other kids there at school, but they do wish that some of the black kids would kind of reach out to them more, especially being on a high school level because, you're at your last years of high school before you move on and living in a mixed community. Unfortunately, they've embraced this community very well, being 16 and 17 years old.
Yeah, okay. Well, I grew up in Detroit. I was born and raised here in Detroit City. And, we weren't all that wealthy, and we were pretty much in the same poverty cycle that everybody else was in. So I went to several elementary schools, McCarroll, Angel, Joseph Campbell, Parker, It's like, you did a lot of moving around. When you couldn't pay the rent, you moved somewhere else and start over. But, and then I graduated from Mackenzie High School, but it was, I got stories there, a lot of good stories about that. But, when we say urban education, we're not talking about black education per se, although the large cities of America have been systematically turned into concrete reservations for minority populations. Here in Detroit, there's maybe a 13 or 14% white population. But when it comes to the powers that be, they write the urban white population off as a casualty of war in terms of being educated inside the large cities. Now, mind you, this is not divisive conversation. It's just honest and open conversation between people that care about one another here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. You know, chattel slavery is not gone from America today because Big Brother didn't want it, okay? It's gone largely because good white people stood up and said no with their lives right alongside with blacks. So, you know, keep that in mind. I personally don't believe urban education will be straightened out until the masses of white people are aware of Big Brother's game and on board with making changes and making a difference, you know. Until you get hip to the game, you know, there's going to be no changes. So we're going to talk about the game, you know, and to talk about correcting the dismal state of urban education where the dropout rates are 50 to 75% across the nation in the larger cities and everything. Over half the school systems are, you know, in a city are shut down and in disrepair. Some school systems with $300 million deficits, emergency managers appointed by governors, and they usurp power over school boards that have been democratically elected by the people and so on. You know, I mean, first we need to examine how urban education got to where it is today, you know. So, you know, I need to take about maybe 10 minutes here to kind of give you a history of how we got to the state that we're in, so you kind of understand the game. Now, what we call education today in America had its foundation in medieval Europe during the 1100s. The university as an institution or entity was established during the Middle Ages and or, you know, during the medieval period. As a matter of fact, like the cap and gown, that used to be like the daily uniform in medieval time in Europe, you know, that we do at graduation, you know. And the primary contribution of European education has been the preserving and institutionalizing of knowledge, you know, and the way that you do it and stuff like that. You know, the whole system has been culturally geared toward Europeans. Okay. It was designed by culturally tuned and brought to the New World for the benefit of Europeans. Now, during the 1100s and thereafter in Europe, much of what was called an education was passed along the aristocracy and private orders and secret societies. You know, in secret society folklore, it is said that not all humans came from the same breed.